Welcome everyone to the Inspirational Business Women Show, and hang on to your hats. We'll get started in just a moment. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to authentically boost your business, featuring Necole Turner. So hang on. We'll be starting soon. Welcome everyone. This is Virginia Parsons, and I am so pleased to be hosting the show today to bring you a wonderful entrepreneurial, inspirational woman who is going to share with us so much about how to be an authentic entrepreneur, to boost your business in ways you might not have even thought of. So I'll be introducing her to you in just a moment. But first, what I'd like to say is the show is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com. Now, many of you who've come to my show in the past are aware that I provide a free assessment, and this assessment has recently been updated. The assessment is all about finding out about how to use live stream broadcasting, which of course includes my favorite, Hangouts on Air, to brand, grow, and market your business. So if you'd like to take advantage of that assessment, it'll only take you a moment to take it. All you have to do is text the word success to 775-800-4179. And you might even qualify for a complimentary Shine strategy session with me, where we'll sit down and talk about your business and how to use these technologies to get out there and grow your brand. So take advantage of that, won't you? Now, I also want to just thank you for being here, because I know your time is valuable. And so that you've chosen to be here with us really means a lot to me. I'd love to hear from you. We've got the comments right there to the side. Go ahead and type in your name and let us know where you're viewing from. Right now, I'm broadcasting from my home office in Reno, Nevada. And we're getting ready for a wonderful Thanksgiving week coming up. And it's a time to give thanks. It really is a time to pause and appreciate all that we have in our lives. And I'm certainly doing that today and this week. And I think it's something we want to consider doing throughout the weeks, not just this one week. But I'm thankful for our guest today. And let me introduce her to you. It is Necole Turner. Now, she's got, as a matter of fact, she's got quite a sheet that she could tell you about her background, and I'm going to let her do that for you. But she is a lawyer. She has been a professor, and she has transformed her own business that she now calls Innovative Butterfly. She transformed herself and her business, and she now does amazing empowerment coaching for other people to help them go through transformation as well. And I'll let you tell you all about it. But today what we're talking about is, what is transition empowerment coaching? That's the first thing. And how to connect your story, your image, and your brand. And the third thing is journaling your way to happy. So without further ado, Necole, come on, unmute yourself. Come on in and say hi to our audience, won't you?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Virginia. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm having fun today. It just feels different when you enter the holiday season. And you know, sometimes you say, I'm so busy, I'm so hassled, I'm so harried that I don't have time to jump on a show. And yet I appreciate that you're taking the time, because I know you're having a big Thanksgiving festivities at your house this week, aren't you?
Unfortunately and fortunately, yes. I can't decide which is better, but absolutely thank you for having me and taking time out of your busy schedule. And those who are watching, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited.
Well, it's an exciting topic. I think that most people worry about whether or not they can do a business that they're passionate about and come across authentically, being the best of themselves they can be, but being genuine. I think that's just so important. And I think even more so for women. Wouldn't you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I think that just comes from just the many different hats that women have is that we want to be all things to all people. But even in that, in everything that we do, we want to seem genuine and come across as genuine, because that's what clients and customers want. They want us to be really genuine about our product and about our business.
Absolutely. And I think that that's sometimes there's a real balancing act in that. So let's pause for a moment, back up. I gave them a little bit of background on you, but you know what? Rather than the big long introduction that I read, I would rather have it genuinely, authentically come from you. So tell them how you went from being a lawyer and a professor into doing what you're doing today with Innovative Butterfly.
Oh, wow. That journey started a long time ago. I'm from a little small town in Alabama called Bruton. It's not too far from Montgomery. And so when I graduated high school, I attended Auburn University, and I got a degree in criminal justice. And after that, I went to law school in Montgomery, Alabama, and I received my JD. And then right after that, I started working for a criminal defense firm in federal court. And I did that for a period of time, and decided to get married and had a family. And so that really wasn't conducive with the long hours and the long days. And so moved to a different state right outside of Atlanta, and I started teaching criminal justice and legal studies. And I did that for about 14 years. And you know how you just kind of feel like you want to do something else after you do all of that and your kids get a little bit older. And so I had an epiphany one day when it started talking about wanting to be an entrepreneur and wanting something of my own and wanting to have my own hours and be my own boss. And so that's when I started that segue to being a business owner. But that took a total of maybe 20 years to finally decide to do that. 20 years. So I'm not going to say the age that I am. But it really did take 20 years.
20
yes.
years. She went through a transitionary period. So I think she has a little bit to share with us about transitioning.
Transitioning forward 20 years, absolutely.
Well, you know, we were talking a little bit about the process of transitioning.
Wow.
And I was sharing with you that one of the most valuable exercises I ever did was last year, about this time, that I actually did an assessment of myself. Wow. And it was basically reviewing my life from way back into college. Even I took a couple points from high school, you know, highlights, things that I'd accomplished, things that I felt good doing, things that lit me up inside. And then, you know, all the other crud that went along with it in life, you know, those things that are, those times that are challenging, but were still part of my path. They were still part of my growth and my evolution. And for me, first of all, it took me a long time to do it because, you know, I have grandkids now. So I've been around the blocks a few years. And it took me a while to really go back and do it and think through and remember everything that I'd done and everything that I'd learned, and all the quivers that I could put in my hat. So I think that's a really valuable thing to do. And it helped me sit back and say, whoa, you've done so many things. And you wouldn't have ever dreamt that what you're doing now, of course, because it didn't even exist back then, what I'm doing now. But
Right.
who could have foreseen that? And I thought that that was a really good exercise. And I really wanted you to spend a little time on this as well, because you just talked about 20 years of transition. But what was the big wow from that period?
Wow. Oh, Virginia, you just really opened up something there, because I think we as women, that if we really sat down and wrote down every single job that we've had, and not only take every single job, but break that down into a subcategory of the skill sets that we learned on the job, and take those and we map that to something that we want to do in the future. And that is the preparation phase. And for me, my big epiphany moment came when we did move to another state. And, I was totally uprooted when I moved to Atlanta. I didn't have a job. My husband had the job. So I spent 3 months at home, nothing, cooking, cleaning, picking up the kids, but I didn't have a job. So after a while, you can only bake so many cakes, especially if you're a professional woman. So I started sitting down and I started really blaming him and blaming everyone else for the space that I was in. But ultimately, there was no one to blame but myself, because the opportunity was there. And so I started that path. I started writing those things down, all the jobs that I've held, all the things that I've done, all the skills that I've gained, and said, this is a target. This is what I want to do. How do I get there? What do I already have in place that's going to help me? What am I missing in order to get there? And that's how I started.
Well, I think that's an important assessment to do of oneself. And first of all, I want to welcome our viewers who are coming in. So, Tyria, thank you for joining us. She's from Canada. She actually was a previous guest and did a wonderful job. Great to have you here. Some of the rest of you I know are here, but you haven't said anything in comments. You're being quiet, and I'd love to know actually who you are. So put in the comment section where you're viewing from, and thank you for taking the time to be here today. Now let's go into this a little deeper. This what you're talking is like a mapping, because you went back and you really looked at what you had been doing. As you said, you can only bake so many cakes.
That's right.
But that's okay. Put that on your assessment. You're a good cake baker.
I'm a good cake baker. Anybody need a cake for the holidays? A little short notice, but I can do that.
And you will be, I'm sure. But so let's talk about this a little bit more, because I think it's important. This is where you get into the meat of authenticity, in my opinion, because you really said, I went through 10 years of wilderness. I mean, those were your terms. I heard you mention that when we were talking earlier. Yes. And I think that we all do, as we evolve, sort of struggle to find our place. Who are we? What are we really about? And what do we really want to bring to the world? Right. So talk a little bit about that period that you went through and how you moved from there and transitioned into where you are today again.
Because we're all placed here for a purpose, and we really don't know what that is. I didn't, and so I've been married a little over 20 years, and so for 10 of those years, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do outside of being a wife and a mother. Yes, I was a professional and I was working, but ultimately that's not what I wanted to do. And so my journey to finding my authentic self, after those 10 years, I woke up one morning and I honestly believe that I was having a panic attack. And my heart was beating real fast, and I broke out in a sweat. And I just woke up and said, I don't want to have today be like yesterday. So what can I do different today so that it won't be? And so I started a journal. And I started writing in that journal all of these things, all of these dreams, and all of these aspirations. And that journal started off at a point with sadness and and with loneliness. And then it ended up being freedom and then authenticity. So those 10 years turned into 10 different things. And those 10 different things in that journal turned eventually into a book. But that wilderness was me wandering and trying to find exactly who was I. Truly and authentically, who was I outside of those societal definitions and norms? Who was Necole? And that was not an easy process. And so I had to really start on that journey. And that journey started by writing it down in a journal.
So you've already touched on our third topic, and it doesn't matter what order we go in, but I think that journaling makes so much sense. And I have volumes of journals as well.
Yes.
And then I go through periods where I don't journal. I just sort of get too busy and get off track and then don't journal. And then I realize, oh, I've got to reconnect again on a little deeper level, which I think writing down requires you to do, because you can't just let yourself be distracted so easily.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to be distracted, especially with all that we have coming at us with electronics and our phone and social media, that journaling is a real discipline. So let's hold off on any more of that for a few minutes, because I think it's very important what you're talking about. But let's get into our promise for helping people understand a little bit more about what transition empowerment coaching is.
Oh, wow.
And how you came to say, this is who I am, this is my authentic self. And even though I'm a lawyer and a professor, this is where I really resonate. So let's talk about what is it and how you came to be focusing on that.
Okay, so here's the thing. I was a lawyer and I was a professor, but I was also a mom and also a wife who spent periods within those years not working, because when you have small kids, who's going to pick them up and who's going to cook dinner and who's going to do all of those things. So once I had my aha moment, my epiphany, I said, obviously, there are other women out here who are feeling exactly the same way that I was feeling. And so what I started thinking was, I need to share this. I just can't keep this to myself, because that would be really selfish. I didn't have anyone to help me. I didn't have anyone to really talk to about this. And so I took a look at, again, the skills that I had, being able to be an advocate, get up and publicly speak, and being able to communicate really good verbally and in writing. And with my experiences, I said, well, there are lots of coaches out there, life coaches, there are business coaches. So why don't I say that I'm a transition empowerment coach? Meaning, in my transition, I wanted to empower others in their transition and give them some steps and tools and guidance along the way. So a transitional empowerment coach is really someone who helps another person, especially women, who are in that place of not knowing their purpose, of not knowing their path, and really have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't exactly know how to get there. They have all these things that they've done, but they don't know how it relates to the thing that they want to do, and help them identify those things in that transition in order to get to where they ultimately want to be. And be their cheerleader, be their listening ear, be their person, their accountability partner, and be all of those things along that journey.
Well, here's what I'm wondering. To me, the big part of that in coaching is that you're, as you said, they're a cheerleader.
Yes.
But you're also probably there with the capacity to validate and uplift them for what they've already accomplished and know in their life, for what their real gifts are. Because oftentimes when we think of what our skill sets and our gifts and our natural abilities are, we tend to devalue them to some degree, is my thought.
Yes.
And that's because they come easy for us, or we've done it a lot, so it doesn't seem to be that big a deal, and we can't quite understand that anyone else would really need support with these skills. So I'm assuming that's a big part of what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I remember thinking that you do all these great things, you make all these milestones at work. You make all these milestones and all these extra things that you're doing, but we don't celebrate ourselves. We downplay them, and we downplay them to each other as women, because number one, women, we don't celebrate one another as often as we should. We don't support one another as much as we should. And so in that, even though we're excited, we don't think other people will be very excited about that with us. And so we downplay it. And so we all want to be loved. And love is validation. And validation, especially for performers, is that applause. It's that pat on the back, that high five, that you go girl. And all of that is really very, very important. And so as a coach, I really don't care if it's that you sold one product, you didn't sell any product, but you may have set up your website. Or let's say you may have identified that one program that you want to write. I'm here to celebrate with you. I am here to give you a high five. I'm here to give you a virtual hug. And I'm here to encourage you to go for that next step. So all of that is so important. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Virginia, about that validation, because that is key.
Yeah, I think that's almost like the first step. You've got to start
absolutely.
there and build up that awareness of your value to be able to move to the next step, which is our discussion on how to connect your story, your image, and your brand. Well,
yes.
You can't do any of that if you haven't taken that assessment and really looked clearly at all the value that you have to bring forward.
Absolutely. All of us have a story. And for me, it's just been really a gift to be able to write the story, but not only write the story, but to share that story with others. Because if you have a story, I promise you someone else is going to have a story. And people don't buy products, they buy the story behind the product. That's why when you see television commercials, especially around this time of year, like Thanksgiving, and they're selling a turkey or they're having products, that particular brand is really having a family sitting around the table. They're having a family enjoy whatever it is. We feel warm and fuzzy about it, and we want to go out and we buy it. Well, that's the same thing with us. We need to connect our story. But even before we connect the story, we need to be comfortable with telling it. We need to be comfortable with sharing it, owning it, the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, the good and the bad, and the not so comfortable. And so with that, we just really need to be able to articulate that story. That's so true.
So if you were working with a client on telling their story, and as you said, being willing to tell their story,
Absolutely.
the good, the bad, the ugly, the whole enchilada, so to speak.
Right. Yes.
How are you getting them to encapsulate it, I guess is the word.
Right.
How are you getting them to put it into an area that's going to help them build their brand?
Right. I have them visualize, really, it's talking about the purpose of what you want to do. I always have them find what is it that you truly want to do? Why do you want to do it? And who do you want to help with it? And that is my number one thing. Who are you going to help with what you're wanting to do? And with that, if you ask someone, why do you want to help? There's usually a story behind the help. There is a why behind the help. And for me, the why was because I grew up in a small town, single mother, didn't have a whole lot. And for me, giving was very, very important. And so every step that I took in my careers, it was about giving back. And so when I started my business, it was about giving back in a specific demographic. And so I have them answer that first. And that when they're able to answer that, and they're able to write down and think about all of the things behind their why, and they start to develop that story. And that's how that process starts.
Okay, so you really are having them do a lot of writing, aren't you?
Yes.
So
yes,
maybe
a lot of writing.
discussion maybe prior to that's going to help pull some of this out of them, to get them
Right.
thinking about themselves differently.
Right.
But then it's going to go into the writing aspect. And I'm going to throw something in here. I mean, you may have never thought of,
Okay.
but because you know how much I love this live stream technology.
Yeah, you do. And you've introduced me to some great things. So I'm sitting here looking at everything. I'm so amazed. I mean, you are on top of it. You are rocking it, Miss Virginia. I'm excited.
Thank you. I wasn't going for that, but thank you.
You're so welcome.
But here's what I'm thinking, that if you are doing this kind of coaching with the individuals and you put them into something like this or a Zoom, and I like this one because this and Zoom you can make totally private. So if you're doing a coaching interaction, so you could then be asking these questions and provide for them a replay without them having to, because the biggest challenge to me, and I think you know that I coached for many years, I was a hypnotherapist, life coach, and part of it is that you want people to just be in the moment.
Yes.
So if they're trying to write down answers and say, oh, I don't want to lose that,
right.
You be able to use this technology in a very beneficial way, both for yourself and for your clients. And then that can go and be transcribed, and you have the start of journaling, and you have the start of even a book. What do you think of that idea?
I love that idea. I love that idea. And the sessions that we have, they are recorded so they can have them later. But this whole platform, I am loving it. And I've been taking notes in my talks with you and how I can incorporate. So that is a great suggestion. So I am a coach to where when we do have our sessions, you know, we before we even get to the session, I give you homework. And so we talk about that homework in the session, and we take that and we expand on that to what we're going to do next. So I am not one of those coaches that is just going to be you listening to me talk and I'm giving you all of the information. No, because if you're serious about building a business and building a brand, it's going to be not only hard work, but it's going to be heart work too. Something that's going to be in here that's going to manifest into something that's totally greater, bigger than you could even imagine. Yeah.
I love that. Did you guys get that? Heart work.
Yes, heart work.
Heart work is absolutely tapping into the authentic you.
Yes, it is.
And we need to be able to actually, in doing heart work, in my opinion, we need to be able to sort of take some of the layers off of the hats we've worn,
yes,
the roles we've played, and get down to that authentic self. Right. And sometimes I'm assuming that means getting kind of raw. That there's parts that are not easy to address, but once you can get there and embrace them and wrap your heart around those aspects of yourself, now you're opening yourself up to, as you said, who do I want to help, and why do I want to help them, and why is it that what I have experienced on these deeper levels could be valuable to someone else?
Yes. We have an emotional undressing, and in that emotional undressing, it can be very hard, but it can also be very cathartic in the end, because we usually find something that we never really thought about before on the reason behind our why. And so it is definitely heart work, because if you have all the work that you're doing within, eventually then that's going to manifest outward into the physical form. But you have to have a heart change in order to have a mind change, in order to have a physical change. And so all of that takes emotional undressing, and it can be difficult, and we have to be willing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we're getting to some real important ideas here around being authentic. And I think that the next step really for people is if we can just convey to our viewers, and those of you who are here live, thank you again for being here. And those of you who are in replay, we appreciate you taking the time as well. Let's talk a bit about how we move this to the next level. How have you experienced being the authentic part of yourself boosting your own business. And what have you seen in some of your clients' work?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. So let me take the part where how has it helped me. Just for me and being authentic in my business, I had a process to where I had to be comfortable with who I was, with developing the person that I wanted other people to see in the business. And that is from everything from the inside, from just from how I greet people to how I smile to how I look to how I present myself, and being very consistent in that each and every time I see someone, because as you know that we're totally one way when we're inside of our own home, but even if we have a home office, then we need to be able to take that even when we're dealing with our clients, when we're coaching them, and even to the outside. So my journey to authentic, oh gosh, it took a while. I had to not only be comfortable with who I was, but expressing who I was. And I think that came with maturity and just having that confidence. And the confidence, it doesn't come easy. And learning how to validate and affirm myself if that did not come from other people. And so I think how I take that with myself and bridging that to the business. And I've said before that people don't buy your product or your service, they buy your story. And I have to be very, very succinct and at the same time be very honest in how I tell that story. It doesn't come out the same way each and every time, my why, but I tell it in a way that hopefully people can see my honesty in that. And I take that and what I did for myself to my clients. And that's one of the first few things that we work on even before we talk about business and setting that up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We talk about what type of image that you want to put out there when you're working with your business and if they are working with clients. You want that to be consistent, succinct, and come across as honest each and every single time. And that is what, in essence, is authenticity. It's being the best possible version of you that you can be without comparison to anyone else.
Oh, that bears repeating.
It is. Authenticity is being the best possible version of you without comparison to anyone else. That is what authenticity is.
Yeah, without comparison to anybody else.
Yes.
And I think that's always hard, but I think it's really important. And I think that goes into the, not everyone has this, but many do, that aspiring to be,
Yes.
best you could be sometimes get you caught in perfection.
Yes. And for those of us that are A-type personalities, let me hold up 2 hands. I hope you guys can see that. Yes, I am a very A-type personality, not as tightly wound as I was in my 30s. As you mature, that tends to loosen up a little bit, and life teaches you that. But yes, and in a time where we have social media and we have the television shows and the reality shows, and everyone is a little nipped and everyone's a little tucked, and everyone dresses a certain way, and everyone has to be a certain way, that can be a little intimidating, and we find ourselves comparing ourselves to what that standard is. And I remember writing an article for a blog about 8 months ago where I really talked about inner beauty versus outer beauty and debunking the beauty myth. And I was really talking about not so much by the things that we see in magazines, but the comparisons throughout the years and the centuries, just as far as what the beauty standard was, and what society has held as being beautiful, and how do we tear that down and really strip away all of those layers, peel away all those layers to really get to who we really want to be. And so that's something that I wrote about. That is something that I still believe and still practice to this day, to be a little different. You know, my pictures are pretty consistent that I put out with my brand. I'm experimenting with something new. These days, I'm wearing my natural curly hair. And for me, that is a little different, but I'm learning to embrace it a little more. And so I'm learning to be authentically who I am. And so, and that takes courage. And sometimes it is difficult to reveal that.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are all phases that we go through, and more so once you get to the point of having been through a few of the bumps in the road and having a few of the challenges, and I said, look, I'm comfortable in my skin the way I am, and if that means, you know, having your naturally curly hair, who said that hair comes in every shape, size,
yeah.
And it truly is a lot about who you are.
Yes.
Although I have to say that at this point in my life, I do color my hair, so it's now out there for all of you to know.
And I am a big endorser of color. Yes.
It feels totally authentic, I'm telling you. So I'm sticking with it.
Stick with it. It's working for you. Yes.
Oh, well, we're having fun here today. It is Thanksgiving week here in the United States. For those of you in Canada, I know you had Thanksgiving last month, but thank you for being here. We're going to take this next topic, which you already started with, on the journaling, and I want you to all to know that we have a wonderful gift for you. Or I should say, Necole has a wonderful gift for you. That kind of is the offshoot of some of the journaling work that she has done, and I think you're going to find it really, really valuable. So we're going to give you that link in just a moment. So let's go on to just talking a little bit more about how you really use journaling to move from a place of frustration, confusion, misalignment, into feeling truly authentic and happy in your skin.
Okay, here's the thing. About a year and a half ago, I had a friend, and she was a really good friend, and I thought we were good friends. And one day, I called her up, and all of a sudden, we're not friends anymore. And I don't know how many of you can relate. You had a friend break up with you, but you didn't break up with them. And so that kind of put me in a tailspin. I didn't know whether I was coming, where I was going, whether I was high, whether I was low. And so I really took to my journaling again. And I started thinking about these female friendships and the friendships that we have with women, and how we can really truly be authentic with them, and what does that look like, and who do I need to be in order to make that happen. And so I started journaling, and I put everything I had into this one journal. And I don't know if I'll be able to show you, but and I bought it with me. This is the journal. And if you see, I have all these pages sticking out, and it says live simply, laugh, and love often, always. And these are the little pieces of paper. And I just started writing, and I put all of my misery, all of my pain, all of my laughter into this journal. And this journal eventually became a book. And the book, it had the 10 chapters. We talked about my 10 years in the wilderness, and these 10 years in the wilderness made it into the book. And I wrote about that in the journal, and it just became a book. It was very therapeutic. It was cathartic, but in it, I put everything and every frustration that I had about the relationships with the women that I had and have had in my life.
And sometimes it's hard to even get to the point that you recognize how frustrated you are. You might feel this general feeling of I'm frustrated. Things aren't really going the way I anticipated. And I'm not sure where I'm trying to go, but I know I don't want to stay here. And I think to write is to get deeper. As I say, when we talked about this a bit earlier, the idea is when you write, you must focus. And if you allow yourself to focus, you're going to allow some feelings to come up, because it's so easy to be distracted by everything else out there that allows you to dissociate from those feelings and not get in touch with them. Therefore, you could stay stuck for a long time. To me, that's the value of journaling.
Yes, and absolutely. And what I love about journaling is you can say what you want in the journal, these things that you feel that you can't say to other people. And you can be as angry as you want, as upset as you want, as hurt as you want. and it's only for you to see. And if you don't take the journal and turn it into anything else, then that's okay. But it is only for you.
Yeah, it's only for you, and yet it's a great tool. And you just showed, pages are falling out, etc. Well, I've just posted for everyone your gift, Reflections of the Butterfly, Affirmations for Empowerment. You are offering a free chapter. And I'd like you to talk to them about it a little bit, Necole, and say, why would this chapter be valuable to them, and how can they use it in their lives starting today?
Oh, goodness. I love this chapter. Authenticity is probably one of my most favorite chapters. And in it, I talk about my journey to what authentic was, and the steps and what it took and what it looked like. And what I really love about the book, but really about this chapter, is I start talking about a personal experience in my life that was along this journey. And then I really relate that to the lesson that I learned in it and how I could laugh at myself about it. And then I wrote some affirmations to help people feel encouraged, especially women, about that whole process and that journey to authentic. And then I just give them a little bit of motivation in that. And in the end, I end it with a letter called Dear Beautiful, because in my journey to being authentic, I really had to figure out that, hey, you are beautiful inside and out. And so I ended with that. And it's a really beautifully written chapter. And I just really just give some insight about my journey to authentic.
Okay, well, I've put up, for those who are watching this or seeing it on iTunes, you're not going to have that direct link. So if you want to go pick up her chapter with these beautiful affirmations, you can go to hmtips.com/Necole gift. Necole is spelled Necole gift. hmtips.com/Necole gift. And for those of you who are here live, I have posted it in the comment section, and you can link on it there. And let me just bring myself back on camera so that we can stay connected here. Okay, so I think we're ready to sort of wrap this all up in a beautiful bow for the holidays coming up. I appreciate that you're giving this gift to people, and I think it's a great representation of the journey you've been on.
Oh, yes.
And how you move from this place of despair and anger and frustration into empowerment.
Yes.
And into self-love and into being your authentic self. So wrap your gift up, Necole, with some final thoughts and some things that you would love our viewers, both live and in replay, to go and do to be more authentic and boost their business starting today into 2017.
Okay, what I really want people to know, and first I want to talk about business, and we're going to use the acronym HAPPY. I'm going to use the acronym HAPPY for both the business and also for the personal journey. And if you don't mind, because I don't want to leave anything out, I wrote it down.
Yes,
and,
go ahead.
Okay.
Grab your sheet notes, absolutely.
So basically, for your business, HAPPY, first thing you want to do is hone your skills. We talked about that, taking all the things that you've done and taking all of those skills, and you want to hone those in. Also, you want to look at your market. You want to analyze that market. This is your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? You want to analyze your market. Then you want to prepare the path. What other things do you need? Do you need certifications? Do you need a little bit more education? Do you need a coach? Because as Miss Virginia knows, a coach needs a coach. Somewhere along the way, a business coach, a transition coach, a life coach. We have all had more than one coach in this process. So
many coaches, many
yes,
coaches.
Many
they
coaches
change from different phases in your life.
Yes, they really do. So you want to prepare that path. You want to plan your journey. Where do you want to end up? What's the end game? So you want to plan your journey, and then you want to really yield to that process. You want to yield to the process. So that is the acronym HAPPY for business. Hone your skills, analyze the market, prepare the path, plan the journey, and yield to the process. That is for business. Now, on the personal side, this is not only in the book, but I wrote an article, like I said, about 8 months ago when I was talking about journaling my way to happy. And I'm taking all of these things I had in my head and putting them on paper. And mainly it's just the first thing I want to make sure that everyone knows is you have to allow the process to happen. And so with this acronym, To Happy, we have to heal the past. We have to heal the past. If we can't work out the things in the past, then they're going to impact everything that is going to come down the road. So we must heal the past. We must adjust our attitude. Adjust our attitude. And that may mean more than one thing to you, but we must adjust our attitude, because how we look at something, we can look at something from many different ways, and it can be different each and every time, but that all depends on our attitude looking at it. And we must also be present in life. This is the first P in happy, present in life. We can't lock ourselves away. We can't hide from life. Wish we could, but we can't. We have to look life straight in the face, and we have to go through it. So be present in life. We must purpose our path. Get up each and every day with purpose. That path must be purposed. If we don't get up each and every day with purpose, with intent, in order to make that day happen, we can't let the day happen to us, then life is just going to pass us by. So we must purpose our path. And the last thing that we must do, it's another yield, but we must yield to our purpose. We can't run from it. I worked a lot of jobs, done a lot of different things, and I've always run from ultimately what I'm doing now. I didn't know what it was, but I ran from it in a lot of different ways. And so we must yield to our purpose. And that is happy on the business side and on the personal side.